I have a very beautiful daughter, and one of my privileges as her father it was to offer her to her husband at their wedding. You're saying, what in the world are you talking about? That's exactly what the Apostle Paul is talking about now as we begin our study of chapter 11 of 2 Corinthians. Paul is saying, you know what? I am the one who betrothed you or engaged you to your husband. Now let's read. Chapter 11, 2 Corinthians chapter 11, verse number 1, I wish that you would bear with me in a little foolishness. Well, maybe you thought, well, he's starting that off and he's kind of being foolish, but I want you to get the point, and that's what Paul's doing. Paul's not saying I'm being foolish. Paul's saying you might think that I'm being a little foolish. Paul is asking the Corinthians to put up with some foolishness. And this is what he says, but indeed you are bearing with me. What's Paul saying? He's actually bringing a compliment to the Corinthian church. He already knows that his first letter has created tremendous results in the Corinthian church. And so he continues by saying, you know what? But indeed, you are bearing with me. You're hanging with me. You're listening to me. You're bearing with me, even though I might be using things that be considered foolish. And by the way, let's go back to the historical context. The city of Corinth put great value in the so-called wisdom of men. And now Paul says, you know what? Bear with me in this foolishness. Hang with me. You're bearing with me. You're hanging with me. So he says, but indeed you are bearing with me. And then he says this, for I am jealous for you with a godly jealousy. Jealousy is not necessarily a sin. There's a godly jealousy. There's a godly jealousy that God places a jealousy, or the word jealousy actually could be translated as a zeal for someone or something. You know what? If you're jealous over your neighbor's car, you know what? You're saying, I want that. I desire that car. I desire that car in my garage. Now that's sinful jealousy. But there's a jealousy that comes, and you see it in people that are operating in their sphere or their measure of ministry, and it's a jealousy towards the people that they are reaching. And that's what Paul is talking about. He's saying, I've got a deep desire for you. I've got a zeal. Those of us who have been in ministry, we know exactly what the Apostle Paul is talking about. It's that deep desire for people, to help them to become established in faith. I see people that were part of our ministry years and years ago, and you know what? I still have that desire for them to be firm in the faith, to be strong in what they're believing. And so Paul is saying, he's saying, I've got a jealousy for you, but it's a godly jealousy. It's a godly desire. It's a godly zeal that's burning on the inside of me. And then he goes on and he says, this is the reason why I have this desire for you, for I betrothed you to one husband. What's Paul saying? Paul is saying, I gave you over to a husband. Let's understand this thing of betrothal. It's a man and a woman were betrothed or espoused to each other when they were engaged to be married. What's Paul talking about? When he says betrothal, we don't use this word betrothal. It was a much more powerful act than it is nowadays. But in the days of the Apostle Paul, a man would come to the father and he would say, you know what, I want to marry your daughter. And the father would say, okay, I like you. You're a good guy. You're making good money. You can take care of my daughter. You love my daughter. La 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 la. And then they would go through a ceremony in which he would betroth, where he would, before marriage, give his daughter to that man. Now that husband, that father, not a husband, but the father, would then stand over that daughter for a period of time until they entered, she and her husband entered into the vows of marriage. It was a very, very positive thing, a very powerful thing. And so Paul says, I betrothed you to one husband. What is he saying? He's saying, I am watching over you. I am making sure that this engagement process is staying pure, that it's staying holy. I'm watching and making sure that your engagement is growing your relationships with each other. What a powerful statement the Apostle Paul is making. He's saying, I betrothed you to one husband. Now we need to understand that throughout the Bible, this husband is Jesus. What's Paul saying? He's saying, I gave you over to Jesus. I allowed you to walk in relationship with Jesus. And he says, not only have I allowed it, but I am watching over your relationship with Jesus. I betrothed you to one husband so that to Christ I might present you as a pure virgin. What was the whole objective of the betrothal system? It was so that on the wedding day, that father would present his daughter as a pure virgin to that man. Wow, what a statement the Apostle Paul is making. What a huge, huge statement. And he's saying, I'm jealous, I'm zealous about this. I have this deep desire to present you to Jesus, so that when he comes to take you away, I'm presenting you as a pure virgin, someone without sin, someone who's been conditioned, who's built and been conditioned to have a relationship with you, Jesus. The Apostle Paul saying, you know what? I betroth you, Corinthians. I betrothed you to one husband. And my desire is to someday when he returns to be able to present you as a pure virgin, holy and acceptable in his sight. Wow. Do you see the passion? Do you sense the desire that Paul has for the Corinthian church? We're going to continue next week. God bless you. Have a wonderful weekend. Thank you for watching.